Welcome to a new episode of the Sunday Sauce. I'm here with director S.K. Dale. He just recently directed a movie called Till Death with Megan Fox, which was a great movie. It's actually a thriller, I would say. Right? Would you say?
Yeah. I definitely think of it more as a thriller with horror tropes within it.
Right. It's actually pretty when I watched it, it was like Megan Fox I don't really want to ruin it for people, but basically she has an affair and her husband kills himself and uh and handcuffs himself to her. It's a very crazy movie. You guys should watch it. It's pretty nuts. But where did you come up with this idea?
Well, it was actually a writer by the name of Jason Carvey who wrote a screenplay, and it made the blood list within LA and started circulating around. And Millennium came across it. They loved it, optioned it, and started searching for a director. And from what I hear, it took them maybe 6 months to find a director that they felt had the same vision as what they had in their mind. So, once I came along and read the script, I just loved that core concept of a woman trapped in this lifeless marriage, and now she's trapped to her lifeless husband. I loved the visuals of it so much and wanted to play around with that. And I just had so many ideas, and it probably took about 10 meetings with these guys, just throwing ideas and seeing which ones were sticking to finally let them give me the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really unrealistic kind of thing. I mean, a lot of women and men are trapped in very cold marriages that they don't want to be in. They feel like they're forced to be in it. So it's not really unrealistic. I mean, handcuffing yourself and killing yourself is kind of crazy, but but the general marriage thing isn't really so unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the emotional conflict is a very common situation that people find themselves in. It's more the actual the handcuffing. That's a bit more rare.
Yeah. You're from Australia, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
So are you currently living there now? You're in the States.
I'm still currently in Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
I love it here. I do want to come back to the States. And particularly New York, and
Right.
it's actually great to hear people. I was actually very nervous about New Yorkers watching this film because we were setting it there, and I only spent a few weeks there, and I wanted to at least the start part kind of is meant to take place in New York, so I wanted to try and do as best as possible to make it feel like New York.
Yeah, you actually filmed it in Bulgaria, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Is it? I mean, I feel like Bulgaria. I've never been there, but I feel like it's like kind of a shithole. I'm sorry.
It's actually a really beautiful city.
Is it really? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been in, and it's had a very like European feel to it, and just incredible. Honestly, I tell everyone, if you're ever traveling Europe, go to Sofia because it's such a beautiful country and beautiful people. But the actual places that we were shooting on, Millennium has their own studio there, and they actually have a New York City backdrop, and so we relied on that for the actual shooting, because it's just you get those kind of tiled roads and all that. It just looks very European, and it's impossible to try and make it feel like New York. So we relied on the backdrop for all exterior shots.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So now, why is it with New York? Is it expensive to shoot here? Because I live here, right? I live in Brooklyn. So is it really expensive to shoot here?
Yes. I think it's also just from a larger point of view. I think America, it just becomes much more expensive. There are some states that have good tax credits and stuff like that, but that's usually the bigger kind of Marvel productions that are kind of taking those. And there's a lot of productions obviously still happening in America. I would say that from my perspective, it seems that television really embraces shooting on those locations and stuff like that, where movies, I think it's just really producers just find it much more cheaper to shoot it out in different areas. And it's disappointing. I do love watching like those movies in the 80s and 90s where they really shot it in those locations and you feel that. But unless you're Martin Scorsese, I think it's becoming much more difficult to shoot in New York.
Well, when you're Martin Scorsese, you have the budget to shoot in New York. I mean, exactly. when Martin Scorsese says he wants to shoot in New York City, he's shooting in New York City, and that's that. Or,
exactly. And, you're right. It's something, for what we shot it in 26 days. And honestly, I think if we took that budget and we tried to shoot in New York, that probably would shrink down to 10 days.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it does allow you more time to get things on camera.
This movie actually got pretty good. Rotten Tomatoes is the most famous like movie rating website around, and it got like, I think I read it was 89 or 86%, which is actually pretty good for like a straight to video movie, right? Video on demand, they call it VOD, right? So
yeah,
that's and Megan Fox really hasn't been very active lately, so it's like she did a pretty good job in this movie.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely proud with how it turned out. It's exciting to see critics really enjoying it, and I don't know if I really expected them to kind of come out and enjoy a movie like this, just because it is, within that thriller horror genre that I think critics usually pan. But I think they seem to really resonate with the metaphors and the visual ideas that we were exploring in the film, which was exciting. And it was really exciting to have Megan kind of stepping back into something that does have these horror tropes within it, and seeing her embrace that. And I think she should do more horror. I think I mean, she's obviously got the physicality to do the action and stuff that she's doing, and this movie really required a lot of physical prowess from her. But I think she really brought some interesting elements to her character, and it was exciting just to see her kind of doing something that I think at this point I'd never really seen her play that adult role, for lack of a better word. She had done, obviously the teenage kind of action films with Transformers and stuff like that, and team-orientated stuff, but it was rare to kind of see her in an R-rated kind of adult drama. So that was exciting, was kind of playing, getting her to play in a new box like that.
She had to, I read, drag a stunt man around, right? That's like...
Yeah, we did our best to build a dummy, but our budget did not allow us to build one realistic enough. And when it arrived, it was just like, we can't use this. Any sort of movement, especially, it looked too flimsy. So we really relied on our stuntman to be dragged around as much as possible, and he was absolutely incredible. He really embraced it. He pushed himself further. And there's certain things that I would watch him do that I just don't understand how a living person can do. And like one of them is falling down the stairs without, flinching or
like clenching up or something like that.
Clenching up, right. And staying rubbery as he's tumbling down the stairs. It's just like he must have been fighting every urge in his body to not clench up. So he was absolutely amazing. And I also give credit to Megan's stunt woman, Desi. We kind of had to, because there were so many scenes of her dragging this body through the snow, up the stairs, falling down the stairs and everything. Desi and the stunt doubles, they just all did incredible work for this film.
When you pitched this to Megan, was she on board at first, or she was like, what was her agent?
she had actually read the script, and then they they contacted me and said she's interested in doing the film.
Oh.
And so I remember like getting off that phone, and it was more vague. It was kind of like, yeah, so I think we're going to set up a call, blah blah blah, and I hung up, and I said to my wife, I said, I think Megan Fox is interested in doing the film. Like, it was just all so much at once. And then I got her on, and the funniest thing was her first thing was, I found the script so funny. And I couldn't believe it, because it's such a dark script. It's such a horrific moment, but she found this dark humor in falling down the stairs, and just the visuals of it. There is a lot of dark humor within this quite horrific story, but she was really on board for it from the get-go, and she had some really good ideas. And in fact, at that point, the script actually had her putting on the wedding dress early on, and she said, look, I really like this, but I feel like, and I think Ready or Not had just come out, and she was like, I feel like we've seen this visual motif now already. And so I said, yeah, I've already been thinking about it. What if we embrace that and actually lean the opposite way and have her not put on the wedding dress? She puts on his tuxedo instead. She puts on the tuxedo shirt inside out. I'm sliding it up the handcuff, then she put the pants and and use the braces as a belt. And she loved that idea, and we worked on that and played around with that in pre-production. And we got that outfit kind of ready, and it's all bloodied, and she's wearing a shirt that's 3 sizes too big, pants that are 3 sizes too big, and she arrives on set and she puts it on, and she made it look incredibly stylish. She can pull off anything, including blood splattered male-sized suit. So
she's a very attractive woman, so she can pull off anything. Yeah.
And but yeah, it was she really brought a lot to it, and I knew that she was going to bring 110% to the action scenes, and she really did. And it was exciting to see her doing these fight scenes, and we were moving so quickly, so it was kind of, we're learning on the fly. She's got a bunch of fight scenes throughout it, and we were a little bit nervous about shooting underwater and everything like that. We had a incredible scuba team over there in Bulgaria, and they have Europe's largest water tank. They've just built it. It's actually an incredible studio, and she embraced it, and she was absolutely incredible in those scenes.
How was it shooting with COVID over there? Was it crazy, or?
It was really intense, because it was so early on in the whole pandemic.
Right.
And in fact, what had happened is we were in prep in March of what would it have been, 2020, and it was the day of my birthday. They brought in a birthday cake, and we were 2 weeks out from shooting. And I blew out the candles. They sang happy birthday, and then they told me they were shutting down the studio and that I had to leave. And so it was the day that I think the US had kind of started to close their borders. So everyone was kind of up in arms and not sure what to do and everything. And they shut everything down. We went back home, and I thought it was a very dark joke from God to allow me to get this close to making a film and then shut it all down and have this end of the world pandemic happening. I mean, it was so early on. I just thought, this is how the apocalypse starts. And we went back, took a few months, and in those times, I just kept working with a storyboard artist and working out every scene. So by the time we got back, I had actually had 70% of the scenes, even the ones where they're just kind of sitting around doing nothing, I had them storyboarded. So we could go in and we could approach it as quickly as possible and shoot what we needed without needing to get coverage. I'm not a big fan of shooting coverage. Right. I like to get just the shots that we're going to need and focus on getting more takes for those shots. And then, so by the time we went back a few months later, we were one of the first productions to kind of start up again in the world. So it was very nerve-wracking. And they had divided the crew into essentially 3 groups. You had, you know, group A, B, and C, and they weren't allowed to interact with each other. And you know, everyone's wearing masks every day, and it was kind of, you're bringing in your lighting team separate from the sound team, and you know, the camera. It slowed the process down quite a lot, and I think in the end we did lose a little bit of that budget to ensuring the safety of the cast and crew. Right. But it was incredible. We didn't have one single case while we were shooting, and I was really proud with the crew kind of sticking it out, and especially you know, when they had shut down for so long. You know, I don't think a lot of the Bulgarian crew had, you know, government support in that way that was kind of helping them survive, unlike, you know, Australia, where we had a lot of money kind of pushed out for people to not be going to work and all that, and allowing that. So I think these guys were so hungry just to get back on set and to continue shooting. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. The odd thing I would say was a lot of the crew would have, you know, you'd spend so long with this crew, but they're wearing masks, and you would have no idea. I don't think you realize how much the lower face kind of dictates what they look like. Your mind kind of assumes what it is. And sometimes, you know, at lunch when everyone's outside, you look in the distance and someone's pulled down the mask, and you're like, oh my God, that's what they look like. I don't think I would recognize them in public. So that was quite odd to spend so much time with people without really knowing what their full face looked like.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So you shoot this movie, it's pretty successful. Is there any future plans? You have any other movies lined up?
Yeah, we're currently developing a few projects with a few different people it's pretty exciting, some of the stuff we're working on. I can't really talk about anything too much yet, but I would say, you know, a lot of that stuff is kind of, a lot of my stuff is playing within that thriller horror, but we're also kind of expanding into some really exciting territory with sci-fi and drama as well.
Were you always into horror? Because I'm a big, like, so I'm an old school. I mean, I'm like Halloween. The original is my favorite horror movie. That is the masterpiece of all masterpieces. It's not really horror, it's more suspense, but that's just like John Carpenter made the perfect movie with Michael Myers. You don't really see him that much, you know, so it's like, I mean, that's just like the perfect horror movie to me.
No, I agree. I think for me, it's funny because growing up, I was so terrified of horror. I just steered away from it. And I still remember kind of going to the, you know, video stores and seeing like it, you know, and seeing a clown on the actual VHS cassette tapes at that stage. And I was just like terrified of the covers, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't watch horror for years. And by the time I felt confident enough to sit down and watch horror in my late teens, we were kind of going through that gore porn stage with you know, after Saw had come out, and I wasn't really I didn't really like that subgenre of horror. It felt very cheap and undramatic. The stakes were kind of put down. Not into that stuff. So I kind of wasn't really interested in horror until I went back and watched the classics that you're talking about, Halloween, The Exorcist, and Rosemary's Baby. And I was just like, oh, wow, like there is so much more depth to the horror genre than I had ever, you know, expected. And I just fell in love and devoured as much horror as I could. And then I also started to see a pattern in happening in Hollywood, where I felt that a lot of the other genres were kind of getting greenlit based on the IP that they were, you know, a book or a comic book or, you know, anything like that. But I felt that horror is and still is one of the last remaining genres that an audience gets excited by not knowing anything about it, or being like seeing something new and fresh. And in fact, I think a lot of remake horror tends to disappoint the audience. So I just immediately found myself attracted to that, and that you could explore dramatic elements within the genre of horror. And you see, things like Get Out and stuff like that, which were, kind of redefining of what we could do with horror. And I think also throwing back to those classics that really did, feel like dramas that were encapsulated within horror. So I just found that all exciting.
Blumhouse is actually really doing some good stuff. They're doing a lot of good stuff. Especially
and A24 as well. A24, I think.
Oh yeah, right. A24. That's another good production house. Yes. They're doing a lot of good stuff. Like the Halloween that came out, that the supposed to be the continuation of the original that Blumhouse did. That was really good.
Yeah. No, it was exciting, and I got to see that at the premiere in LA. I just happened to be in LA at that time, and it was really exciting to see that in the Chinese theater with like a crowd for the first time. And it's not often that I usually, when I go to the cinema, I usually go early in the morning when there's hardly anyone coming out. I want the cinema to myself as much as possible. But that was a movie that I was so glad I was sitting with a packed house with, and LA just has such a strong film community there that everyone was just, hardcore fans. And it was a really beautiful moment to see that playing.
Yeah, that they did a really good job. Because they had John Carpenter involved with that. And that was, you're supposed to cancel every other Halloween out and just watch Halloween 1 and then that one, and that's it. And then Halloween Kills, the one that just came out. I mean, whatever, it was good. It wasn't that good, but it was good. And then they're gonna do Halloween Ends, and I think we're gonna be done forever with Halloween. I don't think we should touch it anymore.
I actually haven't seen Halloween Kills yet. I was kind of elbow deep in.
It's very gory, very gory, very gory.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a continuation from the other Halloween that just came out in 2018. It's literally a continuation of that night. It's
quite interesting. I feel like I've seen a lot of horror sequels doing that, like Quiet Place and everything, where it's like we're literally taking you straight from that point.
Yeah, like a continuation.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is really interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the original Halloween 2 was also a continuation from the original Halloween. I mean, that wasn't that bad, that Halloween 2. It was really good, actually. They should have ended it right there instead of doing the rest of them, in my opinion. But
yeah.
And then Hellraiser was also another good series, but they also should have stopped at like 2 as well. Like that's where a lot of these horror films, I feel they go wrong. They just keep going, like Freddy, Jason. They really should stop at like 2 and then we're done. Right? You would agree with that?
It's hard for, I think, producers to turn down money, though.
Of course. But like the longer you go, the shittier it gets. And I believe LeBron James actually owns the rights to Friday the 13th now.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think there was like a big court battle. That's why they can't do a remake, because I think he owns the rights, or he's trying to get the rights, and there's a whole big legal battle about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard the same thing for Nightmare on Elm Street, because
New Line sold it, I think. I think they sold it, and they're trying to get it back. I don't know what happened.
Because David Leslie Johnson is he was a producer on Till Death, and he's an incredible writer. And I saw that he was attached to a new Nightmare years ago, and from what he was saying, it just seems like it's a bit of a mess, and they're not sure.
Horror is very interesting genre, let me tell you. But listen, SK, you gave me a lot of time. Where can we find you on the socials?
Oh, I'm kind of
nothing
clear of social media. I feel like it's not the best thing for mental health,
Well, then you know what? We'll just tell people to go watch Till Death. It's on Netflix, right?
It is. It is. It's on Netflix in a lot of different countries, and yeah, if you know, it's a small film that we kind of got up and running, and you know, we did it for a pretty low budget. And another thing, it was that, you know, because of the 3-month gap that we had because of COVID, by the time we came back, it was actually summertime, and we ended up having to use a lot of visual effects and practical effects to make it look snowy.
Right.
So you know, we were able to put a lot of money up on the screen, and I'm you know, really proud of what we did.
I mean, it was a great film. I loved it. I highly suggest people go watch it. Megan Fox, she's hot. You want to see a hot girl do some good acting and good directing by my man SK, go watch Till Death. What can I tell you? That's all I can tell you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, SK. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.